Have you ever thought, my child loves this toy, so why don't they work for it? If you've ever offered your child's favorite snack or toy or iPad and they still refuse, you are not alone. Here's the truth. Just because your child likes something doesn't automatically make it a reinforcer. Today, I'm going to show you one simple test you can use at home to find out what actually motivates your child. Welcome back to week 3 of the 7-week Reinforcer Challenge. Last week, you became a reinforcer detective. Hopefully, you started building a list of all the things your child enjoys, from favorite foods and toys to activities, people, sensory experiences, routines, and places. Today, we're going to take the next step. We're going to figure out which of those favorites are actually powerful enough to motivate learning. Because here's one of the most important ideas in behavior analysis. A reinforcer isn't a reinforcer because we call it one. It's a reinforcer because it changes behavior. And once you understand that, choosing reinforcers becomes much, much easier. Let's imagine I told you this. If you finish folding all the laundry, I'll give you a can of spinach. Some of you might like spinach. Most of us probably wouldn't be very excited about that. Now, imagine instead I said, if you finish folding the laundry, I'll bring you your favorite coffee. Or you can watch an episode of your favorite show. Or you can get an hour to yourself. Suddenly, your motivation will change. Why? Because those things are more valuable to you. That's exactly how reinforcement works. Your child may absolutely love dinosaurs, but if they're already surrounded by dinosaurs all day long, that dinosaur might not be valuable enough in that moment to motivate them. The question isn't, does my child like this? The better question is, will my child work to get this? That's the difference between a favorite and a reinforcer. I'd love to know, has there ever been a time when your child ignored something you thought they loved? Tell us in the comments. You're probably not the only parent who has experienced that. I know as a special educator, I experienced that often. The good news is you don't need fancy materials and you don't need a formal assessment. You don't even need an hour of free time. You can do this in less than 2 minutes. Here's how. First, pick a skill your child already knows how to do. Not something difficult, not something brand new, something easy. Maybe touch your head, give me a 5, put 1 block in the basket, hand me the spoon, come sit down. And then, as soon as they complete that simple task, immediately give them one of the items from your reinforcer list. That's it. Now, ask yourself, did they complete the task quickly? Did they seem excited to earn it? Would they likely do that again to get the same thing? If the answer is yes, you may have found a strong reinforcer. Let's imagine 2 different children. Here's child 1. Mom says, touch your nose, and the child touches their nose. Mom immediately blows bubbles. The child laughs. A few seconds later, mom asks again, touch your nose. This time, the child does it even faster. Those bubbles are probably functioning as a reinforcer. Now, let's look at another example. Mom says, touch your nose. The child does it. Mom hands over a puzzle. The child barely looks at it. Mom asks again, and the child walks away. That puzzle may be a favorite toy, but in that moment, it wasn't reinforcing the behavior. That's valuable information. Remember, there are no failures here. You're collecting clues. Before we move on, there's one mistake I want to help you avoid. If your child does not respond to one item, that doesn't mean reinforcement doesn't work. It doesn't even mean that they don't like the item. It may simply mean it wasn't valuable enough right in that moment. Maybe they just finished eating. Maybe they already had that toy for an hour. Maybe they're tired. Or maybe something else is more exciting in that moment. That's why good reinforcer detectives have to stay curious at all times. They don't assume, they observe. In the second half of today's video, I'm going to show you 3 common mistakes that parents make when testing reinforcers and how to compare different reinforcers without making it complicated. And your week 3 homework that will help you identify your child's strongest motivators. Now that you know how to test a reinforcer, let's talk about a few mistakes that we see all the time. The first one is making the task too difficult. Remember, today we're only testing the reinforcer. not your child's ability to learn something new. If you ask your child to do something they can't do yet and they don't respond, you haven't learned whether the reinforcer worked. You've only learned that the task was too hard. Start with something they can easily already do successfully. That way, the only thing you're evaluating is whether the reinforcer increases their willingness to participate. The second mistake is waiting too long to give the reinforcer. Imagine your boss tells you, "Great job today, I'll pay you sometime next month." That paycheck would not feel nearly as motivating. Children learn best when the reinforcer comes immediately after the behavior. The quicker the connection, the easier it is for your child to understand. I did this and then this happened. That's how learning happens. The third mistake is assuming one attempt tells you everything. If bubbles don't work once, don't cross them off your list forever. Maybe your child just finished playing with bubbles. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're more interested in a snack right now. Remember what we learned last week. Reinforcers can change. That's why detectives keep collecting clues. So, what happens if your child likes lots of different things? That's great. That gives you options. Let's imagine your child enjoys all of these: bubbles, goldfish, swinging, music, and toy cars. How do you know which one is the strongest? You don't have to guess. Try asking for the same easy behavior while offering a different reinforcer each time. For example, first, give me 5, then bubbles. A few minutes later, give me 5, then goldfish. Later that afternoon, give me 5, and then swinging. As you watch your child, ask yourself, which one of these got the quickest response? Which one kept your child engaged? Which one made them eager to participate again? You're not looking for perfection. You're simply learning what motivates your child the most today. I would love to know, which reinforcer do you think will be your child's strongest? Leave your prediction in the comments. Then come back after your homework and let us know if you were right. Let me share an example. A family I worked with thought their son would do anything for his tablet. So naturally, that's what they offered during learning. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. After they started observing more closely, they noticed something surprising. When their son had already spent time on the tablet, it wasn't very motivating anymore. But if they offered 2 minutes of jumping on the trampoline, he was excited almost every single time. The trampoline wasn't bigger, it wasn't more expensive, it was simply more valuable in that moment. That's why we don't ask what is the best reinforcer. We ask, what's the best reinforcer right now? That small change in thinking can make a huge difference. Now it's your turn. Today's homework is simple. Choose 5 items or activities from the reinforcer list that you made last week. Then, throughout the day, ask your child to complete one very easy task they already know how to do. Some ideas include touch your head, give me 5, hand me the spoon, put 1 block on the basket, come sit down. Those are examples. Immediately after they complete the task, give them one of your 5 possible reinforcers. Then make a few notes. Ask yourself, did my child complete the task quickly? Did they seem excited to earn it? Would they likely do it again for the same item? You don't need complicated charts. A few quick notes in your phone are enough. By the end of today, you'll probably notice that some reinforcers are much more powerful than others. If this feels a little different from how you've thought about rewards in the past, that's okay. You're learning to think like a behavior analyst. Not because you're becoming a behavior analyst, but because you're becoming an expert on your child. No one spends more time with your child than you do, and every time you notice what motivates them, you're gathering information that can make teaching everyday skills smoother and more successful. Progress doesn't come from finding the perfect reward. It comes from paying attention, staying flexible, and learning from what your child shows you. You're doing exactly that. Next week, we're going to answer another question parents ask all the time. My child loved this yesterday, so why doesn't it work today? You'll learn why reinforcers lose their power, what satiation means in everyday language, and simple ways to keep motivation high without constantly buying new toys or treats. If you've ever thought, this worked for a week and then it stopped, you won't want to miss week 4. If today's challenge helped you discover something new about what motivates your child, let us know in the comments. What was the most strongest reinforcer you found? Your experience could help another parent who's just getting started. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Autism Parenting Simplified, and share it with another parent who wants practical evidence-based strategies they can use right away. Thanks for joining us for week 3. Remember, every small discovery helps you better understand your child, and that understanding is one of the most powerful tools you have as a parent. I'll see you next week in week 4 of the 7-week Reinforcer Challenge.